Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will have roll call. Commissioner Fleetwood,
Present.
Commissioner Key,
Here.
Commissioner Montgomery. Here. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Excellent. I'll begin by entertaining a motion for approval of our previous meeting minutes.
I so move.
Second.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Moving on to the approval of the claims. I'll read the claims for us here in just a moment. Thank you, sir. Are the minutes signed? Thank you. All right, claims for payment approval, CAW 1, $30,721.15. County General, $55,188.94. Courts, $518.64. Highway, $31,830.20. Sheriff, $6,978.38. ACH, $44,375.22. CAW 2, $18,995.19. Riverboat Wheel and Surtax and Innkeepers Distributions, $165,526.43. Ditch claim, $25,930.80. RDA claim and sales disclosure fees refund, $1,020. Insurance premiums, $342,183.76. Replacement payroll check, $144. And lastly, payroll deductions, $172,692.49. I'll entertain a motion to approve those claims.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made
I'll second that.
and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll sign it and move it on down to you. There you are, sir. Treasurer report.
All I have is the treasurer report that was emailed to you. There is no clerk's report for this evening. And all this needs is acknowledgement that it was received.
Hereby acknowledged.
Yes.
And department reports. Mr. Johnson's here this evening. Mr. Johnson, would you like to come forward? You've got all the signatures you need there. Great. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Welcome.
since the budget has been approved, we had put the money in for, I talked to you about getting a new tractor. It's the oldest tractor with most tires that we want to replace. So it's through Sourcewell, it's through JNL, they're local, so I'm asking approval to go ahead and make that purchase. It won't be until next year that we will receive. So I just need your guys' permission to purchase that.
I'll make the motion. We let you get that.
Got a motion made. Do we have a second?
I will second that. We talked about it earlier and
Appreciate you staying local as much as possible too. That's
That's what I thought you guys would like. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I'll have it in order.
very good. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
Thank you, guys.
3-0. Yep, thank you. Moving right on to any additional department reports. Do we have any other department heads? Steph, welcome.
The sale agency plan, I emailed you guys on.
for signature, and I can get that later from my.
The thing that I'm asking for is permission to do some preparedness meetings during working hours from 8 to 4. which is CPR, first aid, and AED. But you have those in the county buildings. Most people don't know how to use them, the AEDs. So I talked to Kid about funding. You guys don't have any funding. Well, we have some donation funds to pay for an instructor to come in, teach employees that are interested. There will be certification and start out by doing CPR and AED, and then another time come back and get first aid, then stagger it. Talk to most of the officers, I think I got most everybody except the health department's building.
We already
They
do.
know how to do that.
I know. But stagger it so that you don't have somebody, you don't have the whole office out of it at one time, so they can sign up, stagger it, and everybody can get trained that wants to be trained. The other thing is, we're doing fire extinguisher training. And I have pamphlets to send out, and I've also talked to the cops about that too. Princeton Fire has a trainer, so people can actually come out and use a fire extinguisher without a real fire. People are afraid of those things. So they're gonna come in and do that October the 18th and 19th from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. As long as you guys say we can do this training during working hours.
It's fun.
I think the AED training is extremely important for any workplace. I know I have to be trained in it every year and look forward to it, actually. Just to say,
We've,
might save a
yeah,
life sometime, you know?
we've had them in the building for years
Mm-hmm.
and there's never been any training on it.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. Fellow commissioners?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve
Second.
or do this.
We're working on some other things with the preparedness and continuity of operations. Then you can talk to Mike, you know, about some other safety things that need to be done in the buildings. And
That's outstanding.
emails for some people now.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike has your documents, Stephanie.
Are you already signed it?
I believe so.
It's already signed.
Listen, we're gonna have a meeting in October.
Signed it.
Not yet. I'll let you be the presenter on that, George, if you're ready.
We're gonna have a public meeting. It's not a public hearing, it's just a public meeting. Talk about the design that's going on with the current project on the jail and sheriff's department. I think it's gonna be October the 19th, 4 o'clock, it'll be right here. Commissioners meeting, but it is public meeting.
You say 4 o'clock, George?
Yes, sir. I think it's right before your commissioners meeting at
Okay.
5.
Very good. Anything else, George?
We had a steering committee meeting last week, and we had a design meeting last week with the sheriff and the sheriff's office. So we're trying to keep moving forward.
Appreciate your legwork on that, for sure. Do we have any other department reports or department-related reports? Sheriff?
You got copies of what I gave you on jail count today.
Say that again.
80.
80.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone else with the department? Health Department?
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, sorry.
Hey, we're doing well, doing well.
Alright. Well, obviously, we're in COVID, so.
We are.
We are still testing. We did 1,036 tests last month out of our little box trailer. And so, the drive-through testing is working really, really well though. And so when I talk to the staff that's actually doing the testing for it, they like to do that through the drive-through service. As we've discussed before, I've looked multiple times for different buildings to be able to utilize. And we were so fortunate to have fairgrounds. And that's just not gonna work out. And several of the buildings I've looked into, there's certain guidelines within the grant that would pay for this, that, they probably would not meet those guidelines. It's like if I would have to pay for maintenance on the building, you know, the grant would not pay for that, it would just pay a lease. So, as I sent to you all earlier today, we're kind of looking at purchasing that trailer, like we had mentioned before. Just because the trailer that we're using now was purchased back with H1N1 in 2009. And so the air conditioning and the heating unit, it'll run for a few hours and then it turns itself off. It's just pretty much outdated. So what we'd like to do is take some of the funding from our testing grant, which we just, you can check with Chrissy, we just got $100,000 with that grant. And even with paying my staff to do the testing, I have enough out of that grant to buy a trailer. Then our goal is with that is like, I went with National Guard a couple weeks ago out to VU and did a mobile site. So if we need to be mobile, we could be mobile if we purchase a trailer. More so than, you know, just this box trailer that we're using right now. We don't have anywhere you can store vaccines in there because we have no refrigeration. We don't have a bathroom for the staff, or any water to wash their hands and stuff. So,
And the old trailer didn't have a restroom facility of any kind, did it?
no, it's literally a box trailer.
Box trailer.
Mhm.
With a heating and air conditioning unit on top.
And we'll probably keep that, or maybe we'll trade it in. What are you thinking?
Well, and you know, as far as a box trailer, you know, we can always use it for storage.
Okay.
You know, to store supplies in, because it doesn't leak or anything. It's just that, it doesn't work very well.
It's kind of limited, right?
Yeah, we're really limited as to what we can do out of that trailer. And, like I said, when we had the fairgrounds facility, then, you know, it wasn't as important as it is now, but now that I'm going into colder weather, I need somewhere where my staff can go in where it's warm. And what we ran into when it was 100 degrees and we were seeing 100 people a day, I mean, we were out on that black pavement all day. I mean, we were soaking wet, because it was just so hot and that air conditioning unit was not working that day. So you can imagine if you're in a trailer all day, no air conditioning on pavement. it's-
Not good.
You just can't hardly do that.
Not good.
You know, so that's what I'm gonna move forward with, and, you know, I'm still working with the board. If we find the building, you know, but it's just, our needs are that we need to have a building big enough that we can get people in and out of. We need a certain area that because you don't want your positive people next to your negative people, so you have to have room to spread them out. I need separate doors in and out. If we do it needs to be big enough that we could do a drive-through with it. And so it's just a little tough to find that, you know, and the way we're doing it at the health department, I don't know if any of you've seen that. It uses our whole parking lot, but you come in the parking lot, you drive through to the tent, and then you can go on, make a big circle, and you go out the other side. So in the event that we would need to do a drive-through vaccine clinic, you know, we could utilize that. And obviously, if the weather is just horribly bad, we would just have to postpone it that day. So it's gonna limit us a little bit with the weather, but as you can see, you know, we're still testing a few, so 1,000 tests, and out of, we also had, there were 771 positive COVID cases in the county for last month. So we're really seeing a lot in the school system. A lot of the young kids right now with this Delta variant, you know, we're seeing it very contagious in those young kids. So seeing lots of that. Obviously, we were busy with back to school vaccines as well. And then we are trying to work with the subdivisions. Ben's been really busy with some of the septic issues with that. I have, as I discussed with you all before, about possibly getting somebody to shadow Ben. I've talked him into staying another year.
Oh, really? Good for you.
So we can postpone that for a year. So he's not planning on it this July, maybe next July. So I said, there's just too much going on, you can't do right now. So he,
Postpone it.
yeah, he's not gonna retire for another year, so I talked him into thing. But, other than that, you know, we're just trying, oh, the one thing that I think the public will wanna know, we are doing the Pfizer third or booster shot. We do that every Monday and Wednesday, and it's just a walk-in clinic at the health department. You don't have to have an appointment, and we've not had that many people, so it's not that big a deal, but it's the Pfizer vaccine. So
Okay.
it needs to be 6 months since you had your last Pfizer. At this time, we are not doing the booster for the Moderna. I looked for that to come out, when I was on a meeting with the State Department of Health. It looks like we'll probably start doing that toward the middle or end of October. So in a couple of weeks, we'll probably be opening up a little bit more with that one. And the main reason is you can go to your physician and get that third booster dose of Moderna if you have a certain underlying health issue. But we do not know people's other health issues, so it's a little bit difficult for us to screen at that level. So that's why we're doing the Pfizer's at this time.
Is the CDC recommending the booster for certain age groups or just anyone above 12, kind of like they did last time, or?
No, there is, and I could have printed it out, but they are definitely, anybody over the age of 65, they're definitely recommending that you get a booster. And then if you have underlying health issues, they're recommending you get a booster, especially if you're 50 and over. So, and then, you know, there's just several guidelines on there, so I would recommend that you go to cdc.gov and kind of look at those guidelines to see if you meet those requirements. Also, if you're in certain jobs, they recommend you get a booster. So it is opening up, and it will continue to open up more and more. And, you know, especially if they come out with the Johnson & Johnson and the Moderna boosters, then we may have to schedule appointments again. But right now, we're not seeing that many. As a matter of fact, we gave just 140 doses of COVID vaccine this past month. So when we were doing 500 a day, 140 for a month, you know, we can just handle them if they want to be in, so.
I saw a stat recently where, what, 61% of Indiana had been vaccinated at this point, and Kentucky might have been a little higher in some of the surrounding states. I think we need to congratulate you though on receiving the funding. Did you say $100,000 you received in funding and that will help take care of the trailer you're going to use during the COVID?
Correct. We had received a
Process.
grant prior to that, that was $100,000. That's what we did our testing with last year. And we were able to be frugal with our money, and we still had $50,000 of that left. And so whenever we were able to start testing way before we got this next grant, because I had money left out from the last time. And so that's really gonna help move us forward, and possibly, you know, if we're conservative on how we're spending that money, then hopefully we can offer free testing after the grant guidelines, which is the end of June of 2022. As long as our funding holds that, we can offer free testing.
I genuinely appreciate your fundraising efforts and grant writing, because that helps out the county and it helps out taxpayers. When you bring in money like that, it's helping us and helping taxpayers. You don't have to come to us. You don't have to come to us and say, I need, 50,000 for this trailer. So thank you.
We also was able to bill insurance for some of the administration fees on some of the COVID. The state, we work with the state, and we just got that money. Was it 64,000 something that we got in that fund? So we'll have that money for projects that we need related to COVID also.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Are there any other department reports or related department issues? In that case, wait a minute, I saw a hand up. John.
We got Jason on here. I know he can hear us, but can we give him a chance? We've been having some technical difficulties to see if we can.
Sure. Let's give him a test run.
Jason, can we hear you yet?
We're trying to bring Mr. Spindler, our attorney, into the meeting via video. or divine intervention, whichever comes first.
Not muted anymore, but we're still.
Okay, okay.
Keep talking, Jason.
You can come through and throw us out of the building.
Technology with.
As well as.
I pray for help. Some things are okay, but
All right, well, I guess we are not able to hear him. Keep working.
maybe he'll chime in a minute, maybe.
He
Okay,
may.
okay.
Can you see?
Yeah, can you see him?
He turned his camera off. You might have seen him a second ago. There he is. He's there. Yeah, we can read his lips. Yeah.
That's it. Shut him off.
Shut him down.
Should I proceed, John? Or want to give a little test run again, or what are you doing over there, John?
You may have to turn on and off again. I've had to do that. Jason.
I guess proceed because I cannot hear him.
Okay, okay. If there are no other department reports, hopefully our attorney here will chime in a moment and be able to participate in our meeting. Next up under old business is Cash Wagner and Associates, public hearing for a subdivision called Fairview Heights. And I would ask any representatives that would like to come forward to present on Fairview Heights to come forward. I'd also ask the county surveyor to have time to speak tonight on this matter and also ask fellow commissioners to participate in the discussion. And we also want to include any neighbors with concerns too. So if we could use this as a process, we'll let the representatives for Fairview Heights present. Our surveyor have his opportunity, commissioners participate in some of that. And also take any kind of concerns from the community. Do we have a member from fire protection here this evening to provide input about fire protection in the area? We had asked for that at our last meeting is why I'm asking, but if we don't, that's something we could do at a future meeting. But I do think it's essential that we have fire protection represent.
That'd be Francisco Fire Department.
Okay.
That's their area.
Okay, well, I'm going to note that in my notes. Thank you, Kenny. If you would, please just tell us your name and what your role is in this hearing or the development.
Scott Beal with Cash Wagner and Associates, land surveyor doing the initial layout of the subdivision. A lot of the design work from the standpoint of just the lot sizes and so forth and dealing with the county and getting it to its configuration that it is right now. Glenn Merritt had been before you before. He's the civil engineer in our department or in our company that took care of the drainage and road plans and all that type of stuff, more of a technical aspect of the subdivision. And I believe that was in front of you before. It sounded like it was somewhat positive from the standpoint of the drainage board meeting, but that you wanted to leave it open potentially for some public comment on where that was going to end up.
And it's my understanding this had to go through the Rule 5 permitting and it has received IDM approval. Is that correct?
Yes, we've submitted it to.
Oh, so it's not been approved by IDM, but you have submitted.
I don't know if he's gotten everything back from that yet, but it has been turned into the standard.
Okay. And I couldn't honestly remember if it had received approval yet or not. So we're still waiting on approval from IDM is your understanding? Okay.
If it's critical from that standpoint, from the standpoint of mass, dirt moving or anything like that. But I am here tonight with the owners of the property, Glenn and Donna along the water here, and the developer, Matt Reinberg is here too, who would be doing a lot of the construction on the site from the standpoint of the home building. Just as a quick overview of the property, it is a 86.61 acre parcel, posing 41 lots in the subdivision. 10 of the lots will front and have access onto existing county roads. And so the other 31 lots would be accessed by 2 interior cul-de-sacs that would be internal to the subdivision. And each one being similar in size from the standpoint of 15 lots or so on either cul-de-sac accessing that roadway. From the standpoint of drainage, just as an overview for anybody that wasn't there, we look at the site from the standpoint, and I know there's not necessarily an ordinance out there for Gibson County of how that needs to be done, but we look at it from the standpoint of how it's done typically in other counties. And we looked at it from an undeveloped as it exists today condition and a 10-year storm event. And then we did our design calculation.
That's our attorney. Sorry for the interruption.
But we did our design based on a 50-year storm event when it's built out and developed with essentially 41 houses on it, the roadway, so forth. And there was double the capacity from the standpoint of what we're holding back. Part of the process of what Glenn wanted to do with the property was to add those lakes and have some aesthetic features to the property itself. So they weren't just buying a house out in the cornfield necessarily that's no amenities. So
Right.
he wanted to do those lakes and have those lakes there. 2 of those lakes are already in place. The third lake would come later on as those cul-de-sac roads would get constructed or developed. So that the third basin would not be constructed until a second phase was worked on in the subdivision. So the plan would potentially be, granted we get preliminary approval tonight for the overall subdivision, we would turn in a subdivision plat for section 1 that would plat the 10 lots on the exterior of the property that access the existing county roads. And then as those are moving forward and interest and so forth, we can, if there's interest in the property and things are moving forward,
Start selling a few lots.
start working on the roads and getting those roads constructed, and then work on a phase 2 of the subdivision.
How many phases do you plan in this master plan or the big project? Like 4 or 5 or?
We would hope to.
Oh, 2, okay. That'd be nice, yeah. Sell off the first phase and go right into phase 2, right?
But the initial phase kind of makes sense, there's really no infrastructure that needs to be installed. There's water, there's electric, there's roads that are in place. The second phase would require roadways, water lines to be installed. So it's a bit of an undertaking to get it into phase 2, but we really need to get phase 1 started. Been kind of a long road from the point of when we started this. We had our sketch meeting, and I'd have to look back at my all the way through the file to find out when we had our initial sketch meeting, but there were a lot of there weren't necessarily concerns with the septic initially at the sketch meeting. Ben had kind of indicated that the site has good soils and everything would be adequate for what we were proposing. And at that initial sketch meeting, we had turned it in, I believe, with 45 lots. And that was what we kind of had anticipated moving forward with. But Ben kind of went out to the site a few different times and looked at it, and he worked with Becky Langford to look at the lots and determine to get to a point where he was comfortable that everything was fine with the septic. And so he came back with a few recommendations that we eliminate. Well, in total, we eliminated 4 lots, made a couple of the lots that were along the lakes, those almost from the standpoint of double lots of what we initially had proposed, just to make sure there was adequate room on ground surface, not water surface, that could handle the stuff. And Ben is satisfied from the standpoint of the 41 lot layout. That was kind of his recommendation. And then beyond that, I worked with Scott, the surveyor's office, and John, getting comments from them. And I believe I've addressed everything that was requested of us for the design and the overall development. And, hoping this can move forward with preliminary approval to get this moving forward. And it sounds like housing is somewhat of a unique in county, and this is a positive and not looked at as a negative for the county and be a part of some growth happening.
Sounds good. Sounds real good.
Everybody helps me. Any comments or anything? So,
I would add, IDM tends to over communicate. And I did forward mine. They did get approval on 11 o'clock.
Okay, the Rule 5 permit or the,
Yeah.
okay.
They approved that.
And if you were in Vanderburgh, okay, if you were in Vanderburgh, kind of a little unrelated, but if you're in Vanderburgh, our neighbors, you'd have to do the same process, right? Go before IDM. Yeah, I mean, same process. Okay.
we wouldn't necessarily need to have that approval prior to the subdivision being approved, but as far as like getting in there and constructing the roads and doing all that type of work, yes, it would need.
Yes. Just kind of want to establish that because we want to be, inviting to development and do development. We want to make sure we support development, but do so in a responsible manner. And there's been a little neglect on, I think on the part of some, because, accept this, accept that, and then really not have the forethought of, how are we going to pay for that? And so I think as a group of commissioners, we want to make sure that we're responsible and asking the right questions and enforcing our ordinance like it should be. So, we have like many histories of development in our county. And, one thing we don't want to do is disregard the obvious rules of reason already in place in our county. And I mean, if you think about the direct consequences of neglecting that would be, it would create sort of a condition of peril and disregard. So, my concern is that we take a look carefully at our subdivision review ordinance and the process that's been done. I even went back and looked at the most recent, which was a few years back here, subdivision that was accepted into the county, just to kind of get a feel for the perimeters. And I feel like we've advertised this subdivision within the newspapers. We've put it out there for adjoiners so they would be able to attend tonight and participate. I feel like, we're looking at the ordinance right now and how this complies or does not comply in some ways. I know there is one issue there, a waiver of some kind. I haven't had that explained to me by anyone. Fellow commissioners, if you've had it explained to you, that'd be great to tell me, but do you have any, maybe this is a question for our surveyor. Do you have any thoughts on the waiver? Like why would we be for it or maybe even against it?
John's been kind of looking into this. He may, we kind of talked about this and thought it would come up. He might be able to explain it to you a little better than I would.
So this comes out of the general design principles and standards, and it's in the block standard. And the purpose or reason it was put in there, I think, has to do with sort of your probably cookie cutter typical subdivisions in other areas where you are a little closer to your cities and towns, because it gets into the nature of the pedestrian traffic. It talks about requiring a maximum block length for the purpose of pedestrian crossings being added to facilitate pedestrian traffic to schools, parks, recreations, shopping centers, other significant neighborhood destinations. So when we spoke to them at the sketch meeting, which was a preliminary meeting that we have before the primaries even submitted.
And we're talking about 1,200 feet here, right?
Right, and these are a little over to 1,200 feet, and it says anything 8 to 1,200 feet. That was the point of that, so that if you have pedestrian traffic, you can take that into consideration. Now, when we talked to them at the sketch meeting, they indicated these were going to be private roads, but we're going to be having sidewalks and things of that nature. And so I think that was put in just so you knew that didn't comply with the block standard, but there was an opportunity for them to request that waiver to that.
And are we for it or against the waiver? I mean, it's like any rule, speed limit, sometimes, sometimes.
It's neutral. We kind of are facilitating the process for you.
Right.
I think the language in here is specific to if you have schools or parks or recreation areas in the vicinity of the subdivision, that's sort of the intent there, but it's up to you guys to decide whether or not, you know, you think that is applicable or not.
So the subdivision review committee is neutral. They don't really have an opinion on, you know, whether or not we should allow the waiver or not. I guess I just want to confirm this before we.
I think at this point, it really,
Is it good or is it bad waiver? I mean,
it comes to the stage, I guess it's really in the commissioner's hands at this point.
We didn't anticipate it to be a hard no based on the fact that the other conditions in that section weren't present. And so,
So that the other conditions in that section of the ordinance were not present.
and I always wonder when we come across something like this, I'm like, just, you know, any kind of process, why is that rule in there if we're not going to abide by it? And maybe that's, you know, a question to, maybe that's a reason to bring up the subdivision review ordinance and what it really represents and the integrity of it. I don't know. I'm open to thoughts. You guys are more familiar with this than I am.
I think there, you know, each case is unique and sometimes there might be a need for that requirement. I think, you know, as commissioners, you would have to look at each case on base by.
and you mentioned it's been a while since we've had a major. We haven't had an excessive amount of majors since the ordinance has been in place to really compare it to. I do believe, I want to say Oak Ridge was longer than 1,200 feet. I'd have to go back and check. I didn't look at that. That's the last major I can think of. But we had no reason to put any sort of objection to it. We notated it in our report to you because they had filed for the waiver and it was an item, but you know, if it hit, I think with some of these, if the submit, so to back up, the primary was submitted to us in August, and the August 30th letter we sent you is our way of communicating to you that the submittal complies with the terms of the ordinance. And so I think that's what we indicated. We put it as one of our 3 points because they had applied for it as part of their primary plat submittal. And
Fair enough. I know. I mean, I remember receiving the email on it. I just didn't see a signed document or anything indicating that it was formal. And that was kind of my holdup on it. And that's the reason for my questioning too is, do we have an opinion from the subdivision review committee? And it appears that we do not. So just kind of thinking about some of the big issues here. Okay, so one of the main issues, and you're kind of coming into this after we've been dealing with this, fellow commissioners been dealing with this for, well, Mary could probably attest to years now, but one of the big issues is roads. It's a main issue. And just to get to the point and try to you know, move this forward, where will the money come from to maintain the roads?
Internally to the subdivision?
Yes. Yes, sir. Because, I mean, I know the ones adjacent to the county road, they're all taken care of. The county will take care of that, but internally, right?
And I believe there will be a homeowners association where dues will be, and that's typically left to the owner's discretion, but when not, but typically you set up a homeowners association where each homeowner contributes to a fund that allows for, sometimes it's for signage, it might be for landscaping, and it might be for upkeep on the roadway and so forth. So typically one of those, a document like that would be set up so everybody that buys a lot subdivision, and I would say that probably applies more for phase 2 owners. The people out on the outer edge of the subdivision wouldn't want to be.
No, they don't want to participate in that. They don't need to. They don't need to.
Restrictions, they may
Right.
be left out of the contribution necessarily from the standpoint of, you know, internal.
Right.
But
Well, we know we have several subdivisions right now in the county. They want the county highway department to take over the roads. I mean, somebody's done made their money, put that subdivision in. Now they want us to pay for fixing the roads, and I'm not in for that at all. I mean, because
And I had a gentleman call me.
Or private.
I had a gentleman call me and what was it he was saying? Oh, just kind of curious about some construction out there already. This is a little unrelated. But you know, if there's construction going on out there and it's by the county road, I think it should be fine already. I mean, you really wouldn't have to go through this process, correct? I'm thinking, have there been any homes built out there already or any construction started?
They've started construction.
Okay, but those homes are they're on the county road, correct? They're not inside.
Correct.
Oh, okay, this guy was coming at me like, well, they're building homes out there, Fleetwood, and they're not even getting your approval. And so I wanted to check on that and make sure that we're all kosher on that. It sounds like we are.
Right.
Okay, good. All right, good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, it's
So-
more, as far as the roads go, if they, and Kenny, if they want them accepted eventually, years down the road, they're going to have to comply to our road ordinance.
Right.
And they're gonna have to be built properly, which means as they're building it, if that's their intentions, they're gonna have to contact the highway department and they're gonna have to come out and test those roads and look at them as the construction goes up, to make sure they comply with our ordinance. Which unfortunately, we've had a lot of not, on the old subdivisions and stuff. So, I mean, you know, that part, I don't, and as far as the waiver goes, that I believe when they wrote the ordinance and that was to say, one, that basically is just right on the edge of town, are that where they can walk to school, they can walk to the swimming pool, they can walk to the park. Well, obviously with this one, they're not gonna walk to anything like that. It's too far out in the county. And Francisco doesn't have a pool.
unless the
anyway.
backwaters come up, they won't
Well,
go.
no, that's true, backwards, but that's, you know, that's not a, so I mean, I don't have a trouble with the waiver part because it's
You're okay,
out in the middle of nowhere, yeah.
You're okay with the cul-de-sacs too? I mean,
Yes, uh-huh,
is that a
oh, yeah.
shape? Okay.
Just to add on that, I know you asked one question about other counties. I mean, that same type of requirement, that same statement as another county. And on a regular basis, we ask for a waiver. Longer than what's in the ordinance.
Fair enough. And why, okay, so a question I have, and I've asked this of these other folks that come in with their subdivisions is, why would you not want to build your roads to county specs? Is there a good reason for that? I mean, maybe a financial reason or?
I mean, me personally, I think they should be built to county standards. So that if I was gonna buy a lot in there and I was responsible for those roadways myself, that I knew, I mean, I would say that's a selling point, is that these roads are constructed, you're gonna have light traffic on them. They're not gonna be like a typical county roadway that's gonna get the wear and tear. They should last a long time, and so the maintenance on them should be minimal over time. But if I knew as a buyer coming into that subdivision that they were built to county standards, I mean, that would be a selling point to me, knowing I was responsible for them in the end. And I think it bodes well for, you know, once you get a house or two in there, if the roads start falling apart too, and you're trying to sell more lots down that roadway, people are probably gonna start having questions as far as what am I buying into here? So I think it bodes well for the owner to construct them as they need to be constructed to county standards and make sure they hold up and are good shape
Sure.
for Subdivision for a long period of time.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm accused of asking a lot of questions, so that's just kind of my nature. I actually think it's a great project, but I also think it needs to, needs to be vetted a little bit. So that's the reason for the line of questioning. One thing I would recommend doing if in fact your parties are insistent upon building the roads to non-county specs, and I've thought about this a little bit, is we could put on the plat, the preliminary plat, that the roads are not built to county specs and will not be accepted until they are improved to county specifications. at the time of any request to be added to the county road inventory. And I'll say that back a little slower, and I'd like for it to be added to the minutes. I can give it to you verbatim later, but roads are not built to county specs, and this wouldn't be just for your subdivision. This, I think going forward, we should do this for any subdivision that does not align with our county specs for roads. But roads are not built to county specs and will not be accepted until they are improved to county specifications at the time of any request. And this kind of goes along with what Mary was saying there earlier. They can't get accepted. We know that for our ordinance, but I'd like to see it on the plat. Let me read it all the way through again. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting myself. Roads are not built to county specs. It will not be accepted until they're improved to county specifications at the time of any request to be added to the county road inventory. And then that language subject to revision, if anybody wants to plug in a little word there or revise a little, but I think we need to have that on these plats. So, you know, I think it's good for the subdivision and good for the county. Really, it makes it real clear. Yeah, go ahead here. But I think we can get to this next meeting. I mean, I'm favorable right now. I'm just speaking for myself. I think it's a great project. But I think we need to, review it and get some more questions answered. We need a copy of that HOA because that's where we're getting burned. People are coming in and saying, HOA, yeah, we had one, but somebody decided to not pay for it. And then the county's saying, wait a minute, what do you mean you didn't pay for your HOA? And then they're saying, well, we just didn't collect the money. We didn't want to bother people because it costs a lot of money. And so then we're stuck with how do we fix this? We don't have an abundance of money. We don't have that lockbox somewhere back with millions and millions of dollars to repair roads that we don't have on our road inventory. So I hope you can appreciate that situation a little. I mean,
Yeah, I understand the
geez.
situation, but that's also.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you a list of subdivisions that want new roads and curb and gutter and yeah. We should give him a list, but anyhow, you wouldn't believe it. Really, you'd be astonished. You'd be like, really? But we can't, right now, I don't think we can vote on a preliminary approval until we have the HOA, fire protection, and we're gonna need a revised preliminary plat too that spells out the road specifications that I just mentioned. Fellow commissioners, if you want to chime in here, by all means do, but at this moment, I would recommend that we table it to the next meeting till we get some more answers.
I think most of those questions should be answered in the primary plat. This is just, to me, this is past our subdivision committee and it's met the specifications.
You do realize though, if we approve this preliminary, Mary, they can start building out there. You do realize that.
Yep.
And they can start with their road specs. And we can't, at that point, there's no saying, whoa, or we want to fix this. I'm just putting that out.
If they don't meet our road specs, we don't take their roads, period. That's all there is to it.
And that HOA, Mary, I really feel like we need to see a copy of that. Otherwise.
But that's private business. That's not county business. I mean, the county can't say, okay, I want you to have a $550 monthly.
I don't think it's too.
HOA.
I don't think it's too forward to ask for an HOA copy. They probably provide it. They're good people. I wouldn't hide it. Why hide it?
No, I don't think, but that's not,
They do it all the time.
that's not ours to say.
Developers do that all the time. Most of them provide the HOA to the residents that purchase lots. It's public information.
Warren?
But
John?
If I may, historically, there has been a note put on the plat regarding the road maintenance. It has gone on the final plat in the past. And when they've been private roads, we've also required a plaque below the street sign that indicates that it's a private road. just putting.
Yeah, that's good. That's
regarding
good.
the Roads.
I'm just asking for a little additional language, to align with our road ordinance. So that's all I'm asking for. But I do think irregardless, and again, I'm favorable to the project, but I think irregardless, we're gonna need another meeting to get a few more answers and to hash out a few more things, to look at this waiver, to look at I'd like the copy of the HOA. So that's just where I'm at. I'll entertain a motion now to table it to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to pass it.
I haven't entertained that yet, but again, I'm entertaining a motion to table it to the next meeting. Do we have anyone who'd like to look at the HOA or maybe look at the waiver again, or
No.
make sure how about this? Do we have anyone who would entertain putting the language on the plat? Are you guys good with that?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll revise my motion here. And actually, you know what I think I'll do? I'm going to rescind that motion so that we have an opportunity to listen to anyone here from the public. That might have been a little premature. And I'll also allow you to finish up with any closing remarks you might have.
Yeah, and as far as some notations that need to go on the plat, I mean, that's perfectly understandable. I mean, there's conditions that get put on the plat, like a lot of times, and a note like that is very difficult to make sure that it's addressed. And then, we will be working with John and Scott from the standpoint of the submittal that comes in and what it looks like and information that goes on it. There's precedents from prior subdivisions that's, this is what needs to be done, from the signage to the notations on the plat. I mean, that's, we would definitely comply with all of those.
Very good. Very good. Appreciate it. Do we have any members from the community who'd like to come up? Any neighbors or any affected citizens? Feel free to come up if you'd like.
I live on 4473 East 200 Preston, Indiana.
Could you please state your name, please?
James Hall.
Thank you.
I went out. First of all, this should have been done last year. I mean, not at the end. This is supposed to be done at the beginning. Then you do the work and then you get everything said and done. But I measured the county roads, okay, out there by my house. And 200 north, and I got south, but I meant west. Of 450 is 17 foot. Guardrail to guardrail is 28.4. That's the bridge right down below. It's a railroad cross. It's a tanker. What is a railroad tank? That floods. That corner floods. When we get like an 8-inch rain, it floods. That corner does. It always has. I've lived there 13 years, but I've been there all my life, basically. Now then, the corner of my property is 16 foot. There's a lot of variations on this road. And then County Road 450 East and 200 North, west, the 450 is 19 foot. And then I got all the measurements, different places. Then down there by going toward the river bottoms to 550, the narrowest part of that road is 13 foot, 7 inches. Now, when you figure 42 houses, when you figure that up, that is 84 cars of the household of two. Now, if you got kids, that's going to be 168 extra vehicles that's going to be traveling through there and 450. Now we have blind hills, 450 and 200 north. You have to get out in the street to look for traffic on 200 north. We drive in the field basically off the road just so we can get up there kind of so we can scoot out and kind of look and see where we're going. the 465 east is the same way. And the road down below my house is an issue I'm afraid of. It's a blind hill, and you can't even see a combine coming up that hill when you're in your vehicle. Now, you got kids, they're getting on the school bus at every one of them exits, on every one of them houses up and down through there. I don't want to see that. I mean, I'm being honest, I'm afraid for a child's safety, someone comes flying, and they fly on 450. I mean, on 200, they move. And I'm afraid, you know, one of them could get hit. So they wouldn't see the school bus. Then, and I got you some pictures, and like I said, they started a house and they sold a lot. Now, you have not even made a decision on this. These people shouldn't even be allowed, legally allowed to sell this lot. What happens if you vote it down? They're forcing you into make a decision on this. And they're just modular homes. They're not no fantastic nice homes, really. This one here ain't. And I got a picture of it and I drove by it. That's wrong. I mean, they're just more or less saying it. And I think and if you do vote this in, my opinion, don't mean nothing, but my opinion is, if you do vote it, well, we'll stop the next contractor and say, hey, we'll just do this at the end, and we'll sell the lots and we'll sell the houses and start building houses before we can get this approved. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then they'll say, oh, it worked last time, it worked this time.
Well, I know all the drainage has to be approved before it's even started.
Right.
I mean, that's what Scott and those guys do. They check it out. If they, they have to go by county specs,
Right.
So.
But, I mean, they still shouldn't be allowed to sell lots and build houses until this is approved on this meeting. And that's what the state of Indiana says. And I got pictures here, and it shows on here 45 lots, but we've been discussing 42, so I didn't know. But 42, that's 168 cars extra with a family of 4 with vehicles. Plus all the other traffic.
I'll take a look at those. Thank you.
And here, I got the road. Kenny will figure it out because he knows what I'm talking about. That is 200 north. That should have been west. And then
Make that west.
No, this is north, but this is west.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just made a mistake on it. And then south of the corner property, that'd be west of the corner property. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And I just wanted you to see the road, and I took the time to measure the road.
Well, I appreciate all your legwork in this, and you're obviously concerned about your neighbors and the community. And I think you have some good points. I really do. I guess my concern, just so you know, and everyone in attendance knows, I think, development's inevitable, right? I mean, you're going to have development, you're going to have housing, and maybe we don't always like it. I mean, but I think at the end of the day, it's inevitable. It's just part of progress. But my point is, I want to see development done responsibly. And I believe this group has that intention. At this point, though, I just really feel like we need a little time to look over things. And that's why I'm asking for a table, if you will, to the next meeting. I don't want to come off as I'm opposed to it. I don't want to come off as I'm for it. I just want a little time to look at things.
I think you need to study it
And-
longer.
And
Do a road track.
that's just the way I feel about it. I mean, I'm not really here trying to take a side by any means. I don't want to take a side. I just want to make sure we fully vet this. And that's kind of where I'm at. So, well, whatever, I'm just one guy. But I appreciate your comments, your remarks. Do you have anything else for us before we ask others?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone else in attendance, ma'am?
Okay, I'm Julie Howe. I live on 250 North.
I'm just like a half, like 3/4 of a mile from the subdivision,
Okay.
going around the road. But our house, okay, where we sit, I go out by my backyard. We have a bean field right now, maybe next year be corn, we don't know. Okay. That bean field, and then there's a woods beside the bean field. I can walk around my bean field along that wood and be over in the subdivision in about 8 minutes. Okay. Our property line touches the subdivision on their west side. There is no barrier between our property and the subdivision. Okay? So all along that property line, any kid can get a four-wheeler, a motorcycle, a bicycle, come through our bean field and smash half of it. Or if it's corn, same way. So I'm asking them to put up a barrier between our property and the subdivision so that doesn't happen. Also, I don't want a kid riding around the side and getting in my woods. I have 15 wildflowers I'm protecting in there. I don't want them in there trashing it. I don't want them riding in it. Another thing, I don't want them coming around the edge of my woods, back in my backyard. They can be there on a four-wheeler in 3 minutes and vandalizing my house, vandalizing our sheds, stealing my gas. So I'm asking them to put up a barrier, or I'm not going to be very happy at all. The other thing I want them to do before they put in this big fancy subdivision, when we get Superior Ag out there spraying soybeans or corn, and it drifts over to the first yard, I'm not paying for it. You back up those houses 15 or 20 feet. So if it drifts over, it doesn't kill somebody's front yard, their flowers, their fancy landscaping. I'm not gonna do that, I'm not paying for it. So they better consider that before they put those houses right up there against our line, so that those people put their front yards right up against our line. Because when Superior Ag comes and sprays, they don't always pay too much attention to the wind. And it'll drift over, and it'll kill something.
What is the current setback? Sorry to interrupt you, but what is the current setback from the adjoining property owner?
The lots are very large, so from the standpoint of that west property line,
Yeah, because she's wanting to make sure no one's too close to where,
That's right.
the spray is gonna get on them.
the shallowest lot on the northern cul-de-sac to the west property line is 350 feet deep. And so if they build their house in the front 100 feet with the driveway, and, they don't want to put a driveway in, and there's a ditch and so forth back there too. They should be.
Do you have any
250 feet off that.
200 feet from Judy's property line, you're thinking? Now, are there any, I didn't even have time to ask about this. Again, this is why I need time to dig into this more. I really need time, guys. But covenants and restrictions, are there any covenants or restrictions in this? I mean, I'm not for them or against it. I'm just asking, are they in there? There are. Okay, so there are, but I need to see those, I need to know what they are and
I need to know what they're gonna do about that, berries.
and barrier, Judy, okay, so like, I'm wondering on these barriers, are you thinking like pine trees, or are you thinking a fence, or maybe you don't even have anything in mind?
Maybe a 10-foot fence.
10-foot, nice vinyl,
Behind the
yeah.
line, they can't go through.
I can't blame you for that, but yeah, I know. But would you settle for like a nice smaller fence maybe, or hate to say right now?
Well, maybe a little small.
Yeah, maybe, okay.
How about a brick wall?
Yeah. They do a subdivision like that. But honestly, I think we need to maybe we could have some dialogue between yourself and the developer. Get their information tonight. And I don't think, I mean, I don't know what answers you'll get, Judy. I really don't know. But I think we need a little more time to digest this. I really do, guys. I'm not trying to put anybody off, I promise. I need more answers, especially on those covenants and restrictions.
And you know, if they're gonna have 41 houses in there, and all these kids with all their four-wheelers in there, motorcycles and everything, they're gonna be running around up and down those roads and people's property and dude, you're dealing with scripts where we live, we all know the neighbors, everybody's friendly, we know what's going on. When all these strangers come in there, we don't know what we're dealing with. It's just like, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, there's a little fear in it, right? I mean, there is a little fear in it. I understand that part of it. And,
And all the traffic,
mhm.
you know what's gonna happen? They're going, this traffic's coming, they don't know how slow those car pickers go down that road. How slow those combines have to, they don't know what to do when they run in, because they're in a hurry to get the Toyota. Somebody's gonna die out there because the roads aren't wide enough.
Well, I think what you're talking about too has a lot to do with urban sprawl, right? I mean, town going out to country and I'd like to think, I know this for a fact, we have a great county and we have a lot of great people here in Gibson County. And I think a lot of times we can work our problems out and communicate with one another and do what's best for the county and the people and in my case, the taxpayers. So I'm positive about this situation, Judy. I think maybe we could do some talking and see if we can't hash some things out, but fellow commissioners, well, let me make sure we don't look past anyone. Judy, are you finished? Oh, I don't want to. Okay, thank you for your comments and remarks. Is there anyone else from out in the area? Say it again.
Her name is June.
Julie?
June, June.
June, I'm sorry, I'm calling you Judy. Sorry, June. Great going, Commissioner. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting Solo's wife. And I just want to make sure, you guys were talking about the roads that were going into the cul-de-sac. The driveways, will they be coming out on 200? Then the lots that are lined up, because those are lined up right in front of our house. And if those driveways, if you're going to have all those driveways coming out on 200, that's not a good situation. It's not safe at all. I mean, if you have, like you said, if you have kids going to be going in there, and I don't know, it's just, that's why I just wanted to make sure that what you said, that those driveways are going to be coming out on 200, because that's a lot of driveways coming out onto 200, and it's not that wide of a road. And it's a very dangerous road, really. There are, you know, like you said, there's blind hills that you can't see if somebody coming out of the driveway. I mean, even pulling out of our driveway then, we're gonna have all these driveways facing us, just getting out of our driveway, you know, I mean, I leave this dark whenever I drive. I drive an hour to work because of where I live. And, there's a reason I drive that car. So anyway, but that is my concern. I mean, all those driveways up in front of that and facing our house, you know, I mean, that's a lot of traffic. Will we get more, security out there? Will the county have to go out and secure the neighborhood, you know, since we do have more people out there? Will they have to drive out there and make watches, do runs? You know, I mean, can we do that? I mean, do they do it anyway? I don't even know really. But, you know, I mean, will they have to patrol that if there's that many houses out there? They're advertising it as a nice quiet country setting. Well, it's not going to be. If you put 42 houses out there, it's not going to be a nice quiet country setting anymore. And I mean, it's just not going to be. I mean, I like my country.
Hey, Warren, I have-
Yes, sir.
Francisco, I talked to somebody in the Francisco Fire Department because that's our.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd come tonight, but okay.
Okay, I talked to one of them and they said they would not be able to manhandle that. There was no way. They have a hard enough time handling what they're doing. The fire department is too little. It's all volunteer.
It's all volunteer.
It's all volunteer. Nobody stays at the station or nothing. And Kenny probably knows that, but he deals with them too.
Well, and in defense of the subdivision, I think there are going to be a couple lakes out there, right? So they will have access to water, plenty of water. But what you're saying is they don't have the manpower or the trucks to.
And plus, they do not have, a fire truck cannot just back down into the lake and pump that out. They have to have a tube down in the lake in the bottom, and it comes up in a PVC pipe and it sticks up and you gotta.
I used to be on the fire department. You can drop right in the lake
Okay,
with your suction tube and pump it right out.
'cause I know a friend of mine up there in
Yeah.
another county, they had to put, he had to put a plastic pipe in the ground all the way in the bottom of the lake. And he had to have it in there and he had a cap they could unscrew and they hooked that cap up to it and it sucks it right out of there.
Yeah, they've got those too.
And that's what they had to do.
So the local.
Do what?
Fire department, when we were constructing, when Logan was constructing the lakes,
Yeah,
came out and asked if we would put in those.
Yeah.
Those wellheads or whatever you call
So that's already agreeable.
them.
Yeah, it's already
that's not a
agreeable.
problem.
That's good to hear. Again, I think it's a pretty good project. I just like another meeting to, just to look it over. That's all I'm asking for, but.
I don't really have a lot to say. My biggest thing is, the junction at 465 and 200. I've lived out, my name's Keith McCarty. I live out at Forever Road in the 465 junction. I lived out there about 9 years. Both my kids have had accidents on that road. Combines going up and down. The roads are definitely gonna be an issue with the additional traffic. Do I like the subdivision going there? No, but I mean, I don't think there's anything I can say about it. It's gonna decrease the value of my property. But I do think if we're gonna put that many people out there, we're gonna have to do something, especially with that junction, because 200 comes up and goes down, and as it is, it's a blind T anyways. I don't know how many times, if you don't pull up far enough, you can't see if there's a car coming, you're gonna get T-boned. So you put a bunch of kids out there, it's gonna happen. So we gotta have to do something with that specifically. And, there's obviously combines and stuff like that. I don't know how many times I've come up over the hill and down the other back one of them. So I don't know if that's gonna, the width of the road is gonna change any of that. But, it is definitely a dangerous road coming in and out. So I think the county needs to look at what they're gonna do to improve the roads. We chipped and sealed, this last year, when we knew that this subdivision was coming in. Carruthers Road got paved all the way out to Arnie House's house, or Overshine's or whatever. If we're gonna put that many houses out there, we probably should look at doing something besides chipping and sealing out that far.
And maybe it'd be good if you have time, stay after the meeting, we could look at the preliminary plat and address that blind spot he's talking about. I mean, maybe. Maybe not.
Being 200, and the only way you can do it is take the hill out. Because my yard is the corner of it, and you can't see, you have to pull, like I said, you have to pull out in the road.
You have to actually come up even with 465, and if you're not even, you can't see the traffic coming from the other side. If you don't hesitate, there's a blind area, probably 200 feet, that you can't see if there's a car.
So you'd have to cut that old hill.
And that car was in that blind section, you're gonna get it.
And that's the way it's 450 and 200, right? It's the same way.
And that's probably not the developer's issue. That's probably a county issue. We'd have to do the grade work, cut it down.
It's an issue that probably.
But it needs to be addressed.
But it needs to be addressed if you're having this kind of traffic.
Right.
And then, because 550, 200 going to 550, it floods twice a year.
Say that again.
200 north and 550. And Kenny can testify, it floods twice a year, spring and fall.
So now you're limiting yourself on getting in and out, your ingress. Okay. Duly noted. Is there anyone else from the community that'd like to speak about this project? I see two hands up over here. Mrs. Van Owen?
This is a, maybe purchase from a census of our country and how we've had a housing crisis in Hitchin County and how we have not grown in the last 30 years in population. It has been made from the chambers point to the commissioners and public and other forums that we do need to address this. And I know that this is something that, again, I wouldn't, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't in my backyard either, but if we're going to have houses, I would, and have growth in our community and population, this is something that we have to endure the growing pains of. And I understand that, there are some issues and there's some things with road work that needs to be addressed, but we do need housing. We have jobs that we need to fill, and we have employers who are in desperate need of housing for their employees so that they can move to our county, so that our tax bases can be increased, so that then those things like the fire department can be funded. Again, that's just from a chamber standpoint. I understand that as a resident, that is something that we don't really have either.
Thank you for your input. And Tammy, Muckrady?
From an economic development standpoint, I agree with Patty, we desperately do need housing. I do completely understand their point of view. I'm used to live like 40 miles from there. The roads are not the best. There have been accidents, you have to be very careful out there with deer, with farm equipment, so I completely see your guys' point. If I still lived out there, I may, have it, I may wouldn't necessarily want it there either, but it's not my position to say what Mr. Longwell can do with his property. I can express my opinion, but that's not my position. We definitely need housing. That's my number one job, is to bring in housing, subdivisions, apartments, condominiums, anything. And that's the largest complaint I get as to why we don't have people, why we're not growing. From my job standpoint, I am very much for the project.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks and input. See a hand up back here. Somebody may need to help that poor gal.
You want me to, all right. Oh.
It's probably George's fault anyway.
What's that? I was still getting used to them. Stacy Carwin, Toyota, Indiana, and I appreciate the opportunity for everyone to come and have the chance to speak about this. To Tammy and Patty's points, as one of the larger employers in the area, with an increase now of about 1,400 community team members, we recognize this as a great opportunity for those that might be coming in from the outside, or even those team members who are existing employees and haven't had the opportunity to move closer to work. This is, a good chance for them to be able to have that opportunity to contribute to this county and help, continue it down the good path that it's on. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks, and appreciate everything you do and TMMI does to stimulate the local economy. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like some remarks tonight? Gentleman in the back, come ahead.
My name is Logan Parker. We're actually the site contractor doing the work for Glenn. To address some of the blind spot issues, I know exactly what you guys are talking about. Glenn has already worked with us and confronted us about all of the roadside, the 10 lots that go along, I believe that's 200, that are running east and west there. He's already made it clear we're taking that whole bank down along that roadway to open up all that. So that's already been addressed. As far as anything that's not on Glenn's property, which would be the property back to the east side of his, at that same intersection you're talking about. That's not Glenn's, that's nothing that we can do as far as go on and address that dirt work. What we could possibly do, just a suggestion from me, I live in Hazleton, they've got convex mirrors in town on highway there, right at the boat ramp. And that could possibly be, we're gonna fix the east or west side of that property, that intersection. You can put a couple mirrors up on the south side of that road to see back to the east. And that would help solve that problem. I mean, everybody keeps talking about the road width. There's no roads everywhere. I mean, it's not, you're not gonna go out there and spend $5 million fixing the road. It doesn't make sense. The next thing is you kept wanting to put the writing in on the building the road to county spec. The whole time, I believe Max, the developer, and Cash Wagner, these roads are gonna be put into county spec. There would be no reason for us not to. It doesn't make sense not to. We just need to, I mean, that is, it's gonna happen. There's no way. So I think that's gonna take care of the HOA issue. I think Glenn may have still an HOA to take care of the lakes, and he can quote me on that, but I don't know, and I may be stepping out of line here. I don't think the HOA has anything to do with the roads. If we build these roads to county spec, and you guys say, okay, from January 1st of 2023, you guys are taking these roads over, there's no sense to have an HOA for those, or to hold off another meeting to make up a fake HOA for you to say, hey. 'cause it doesn't
See,
make sense.
we don't need that. And really, honestly, I don't know that we could take on any subdivisions right now. Again, that maybe other commissioners have some input and the engineer does too, but that's kind of where we are with our finances.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you're gonna take them over, but there's no reason for us to not build them to your spec.
Oh, yeah, that's great news. That's the best thing I've heard tonight, that you're gonna build it to county specs. That's the best thing I've heard all night. So
Then who, and I guess we want to answer that too, when we're building these, who is gonna be our point of contact to have an inspection done with the county?
Matt Holden.
yeah, the county engineer, yes.
Okay.
And, but I still want that on that plat just because, you know, our funds are limited. I mean, they really are on roads right now, and our inventory, I mean, we don't have enough money to take care of the roads.
Well, let's not ask for
Apparently,
any
yeah.
money for the roads. I mean,
No, he's not. He's a good guy. But I'm saying we got people that do come in here and like they'll build a subdivision and 5 years later, they're like, okay, how about you come on out here and pave some roads for us? And we just can't afford it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Northburg's one of them.
So,
Well, I mean, on the road subject, that's a matter of, it's not gonna happen overnight from the subdivision.
I'm just bringing it up.
As far as county roads go,
Like
yeah.
HOA is not.
No, no, I understand where you're coming
Going
from.
forward instead of being held off any longer.
but from inception, that HOA needs to be in place because right now, moving forward, as this thing develops, you're gonna need a means for paying for that road maintenance. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with
You're
this.
gonna have snow removal.
Yeah, snow
I know I lived
removal.
in Clover and I lived on Julie Drive for a long time. I'm not saying, maybe just letting everybody know that we're not responsible for roads. But I plowed Julie Drive because I lived on Julie Drive and I did run snow removal. And no one paid for it. There wasn't an HOA. So, and you get that many houses out there, it's not so much the roads, taking care of the roads. I mean, they're gonna last for a while, they're gonna build one. But someone's gonna have to go out there and plow the roads, and they're gonna have to know that that's not gonna get done. The first thing they're gonna do is. I'll live right there, I'll plow for you guys.
That's all I have to say.
And far as that lady from Toyota, 90% of the time, 80% of the time, you're gonna get stopped by that train. No matter what you do, you are gonna get stopped by a train. You're adding your drive time 20 minutes every time you go to work. Because that train stops across 3 county roads, 350, 425, I think 400, 350, all the way to town. It stops. The only place you can go is all the way to 550, cut through the levee road, the canal road, and go all the way around or go all the way up there to 350 south, and then you can kind of cross. That's the only way you can go. the truck, because I've been stopped by it twice this week.
And we thought yesterday I had to go around it and today I had to go.
And that's an extra 20 minutes of your time on the road.
Sure, sure. I've been out there driving that, and a few neighbors called me to come out and look at it, and it's like they use it as a cut through right now. They
They
use it,
got one right past my house.
they go right by there. That's all right. Is there anyone else from the community or anyone else in attendance that would like to address this matter? And so, okay, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna make a motion that we put the language in there about the roads that I mentioned earlier. I'll just start with that. That they have to be up to county specs. And these good people, right, said they're gonna be Fleetwood, or, you know, they're probably saying, why aren't you listening? But I still think we need to have that in place. I am listening to you. Could I get a motion to just approve the language that they understand has to be up to county specs before we will ever entertain accepting it?
I'll make that motion because it's going to have to be county spec.
Okay, okay. Could I get a?
My question is.
Actually, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Did we make sure there was no further public comment, just to be sure we give the public an opportunity? Everyone has had an opportunity.
I believe so.
Okay, I wasn't sure, just wanted to make sure. You can proceed with the vote.
Okay, so we got a motion made. Mary has a comment.
Well, I just have a question is, you want that in there before we even consider passing the preliminary?
Yes, ma'am.
You want it on the plat?
Yes, ma'am. On the preliminary plat. Any further discussion? I'll second it. We've got a motion made in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
We have one nay, Mary. Okay, and then,
One thing I want to say,
yes, sir.
most of these people here that's against it, you know,
Neighbors,
They-
people live by.
yeah, I understand that. But they voted us in because we was all against zoning. Now they're wanting to tell people what they can do with their property. And that's the part I don't see,
I agree.
you know.
And ultimately, I try to explain this to my best ability. I don't want to tell anyone what to do with their property. I really think it's a favorable project. So I hope you folks don't take this the wrong way. I really want to look at it. I want to look at your covenants for street. I'll read it all. And I want to look at that HOA document, if you'd be so kind to share it with me to see how, you know, it's going to be paid should the county not take in those roads. You have to understand that it's a real issue in our county. We have the previous commissioners. I don't want to speak ill of them, but they accepted some subdivisions in our county. Are you aware of this? Okay. Maybe they meant well. I don't know. But they accepted some subdivisions and then they didn't really, establish what kind of budget they would use for taking care of the roads or how they would pay for it. And Mary was not part of this. I want to be clear about that. I'm not going to speak ill of Mary by any means. It was the other two commissioners. And like I said, maybe they had a good reason. I don't know what it was. But here we are, right? And we're moving forward. We can't be looking back at the past and saying, well, you know, that really doesn't matter at this point. It's going forward. What can we do with the wisdom we have now? What can we do with the wisdom we have now to make sure those roads can be maintained? And who knows, it might be one of our granddaughters in here. It might be one of our friends, might be a pastor that's living out there. We want to make sure we set it up correctly, and that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I think some things are inevitable. We need housing. Anyhow, Kenny, I don't know if that helps explain my side anymore.
Yeah.
I'll quit. I've said enough. Just trying to be respectful to everybody. Any other further comments, fellow commissioners?
Well, we need the housing and we don't need to delay it. the longer we delay it, the longer it's gonna be. It's not gonna, these houses aren't gonna be built in a day.
No.
True, true.
It's gonna be years down the road before it's completed.
2 weeks, I'm asking for
And-
2 weeks, maybe 3, I don't know, whatever, whenever.
Well, come back to the next commissioners meeting, be 2 weeks.
That's something you can do, something you can manage.
You keep looking at me, Warren.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
Well, you already got one house, so it don't matter. I mean.
I want to be
So that house
reasonable.
was described out of the subdivision. In fact, they called and asked, do you want to go forward? And I was like, no, there's no reason to place or to try to do something antagonistic. I said, if there's a legal way to do this, they said, yeah, we can describe it out. And because they were in a contract, right, this thing has gone on so long that they've had folks that have had an interest for such a long period of time, they're ready to back out.
Mhm.
As far as the covenants, I'm sure Brian Brereton fight those, as we sat down with Kenny some time ago and went through all the covenants. We didn't really have a agreement on the road maintenance because we were gonna put those county stack, which is very expensive. I mean, there's a tremendous investment.
Sure.
Putting those roads and putting water in. And I understand, immediately, I understand, completely comprehend that will add more expense maintaining those roads after you take those over. But there'll be 42 new taxpayers out there also, right? One of the reasons maybe why. we
Sure.
have the same revenue is because it's the same revenue base. The only concern I really have is if you put in the county spec, does that spec change? Because my understanding is there's a gradient from like Bainbridge County, Ford County, Gibson County on the road. And is this many inches of base and this much asphalt and this much top coat, or is it a pressure test?
We can get him a copy of those specs. Yeah.
It's so much subbase, so much, so much subbase, so much.
Yeah.
So much surface, so many feet wide, so many feet shoulders, curve, no curve, makes a difference. I know it's been given to Cash Wagler.
You gotta worry about that.
We have a concrete document there that we can give you, so you're like, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I visited Logan about it, and Logan's given us a pretty good estimate. And it's a huge investment. We've already made a huge investment. The goal, the premise that we just are, just trying to flip and make one houses, that is not true. We were never started by building wells.
Right, right.
It's not very farm friendly. It's, part of it is. That's why that's in stages 2 and 3. So the idea is to start with phase 1, see what the uptake is. Develop along the county road where there's considerably less investment. If those go pretty quickly, upon your approval, then we'll go forward with phase 2. That was the design.
Sure.
These houses gonna be all mobile homes?
No, actually, the one is a modular, and it will be added on to, this is probably out of my expertise.
I'd like to make a comment on that. Modular homes, those are the states of the specs, period. Two totally different things between a modular home and a manufactured home. So a modular home meets all state criteria on code. It is built exactly to the state code. So it's just built in factory and set on a permanent foundation that is all meant to pass the state code. It's completely different than a manufactured home, where a manufactured home is left sitting on a trailer. That's just that's the only comment on modular home. There's no different than on a modular home than a stick-built home on site. They all meet the exact same code.
Very good. Any further discussion? All right, well, let's plan on getting it taken care of. Let's have you come back to our next meeting and plan on addressing it there and finishing it up. How does that sound? Moving on here to some other things we have going on, the request to order a tractor.
That's what we did.
We already did that.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
mark that off. Commissioner, new business, workers' compensation renewal, Brian Hancock.
Before we move on to that, for the record, the tractor that we approved.
You got hard at.
Clear the road. Mr. Spindler, would you address that again?
Yeah,
on just a
so
second.
I want to make sure we've got in the record that the tractor was or is on the Sourcewell list. If Brant's still in there, him and I talked about that earlier today. So that is an exception to the competitive bidding process. But the record needs to reflect that is on Sourcewell. And
He did state that.
okay, I did not hear that. Thank you. Thank you,
And
Mike.
that it was going to be purchased at J&L.
Okay,
I mean,
good enough.
I'll tell you in a minute, I'll think of her. But he's got all that stuff planted in there.
Ask for the language to be put on the.
It wasn't the farm ground that made him.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. So Jason, we previously approved the purchase, and now that you've indicated the process for purchasing it, are you satisfied?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Well, we have Brian Hancock with us here this evening with Epic Insurance. So Brian, welcome, and sorry for the extended wait. Here you are, buddy. Good to see you.
I'll never clear a room like that. I realized that workers' comp insurance,
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you.
Yeah, so Brian Hancock, Epic Insurance Midwest, thank you for your time. I'm here to present the renewal. I have what I believe is very good news for you guys. And I say that because a couple things in your packet. If you look at the left-hand side, you're going to see a workers' compensation claims report for the last 12 months. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment, because what I'd like you to do is go to the information on the right side of the packet. I'm going to direct you to the last 2 pages of that data. So if you look year over year, one of the things that we gather from you is that your payroll overall for the county, you'll note a grid there that has several different classifications. Again, I'm on the right before the last page, it's got a grid there that says rating basis. You've got several different classification codes applicable to the county, broken out by class, and basically overall, your payroll is up about 2.6%, which is slight. If you go back to the prior report that I conveyed on the left-hand side, you look at that claims report, 2 things I want to bring to your attention. The county this past year had 18 workers' compensation claims, currently totaling an incurred amount. I'm going to talk about that. $89,000 of paid workers' compensation claims over that 12-month period. Of the 89,000, 35,000 has been paid today. I'm sorry, let me take that back. 53,000 has been paid today, and 35 of that and change is still outstanding on a reserve basis. So if you look at the premium I'm going to show you in a moment, 70% of your premium paid was paid out in claims. It's a 70% loss ratio. So despite the fact that your payroll went up 2.6%, despite the fact that you had a 70% loss ratio, if you look at the last page of the proposal, your premium is flat. Okay, so I'm just going to say that we'll take a little bit of credit for that as Epic. Originally, your premium was probably going to go up about 10%. We were able to negotiate that back down to a flat renewal, primarily because of the tenure that the county's had with our firm and with travel. So we were able to negotiate that down. That original number came in around 155. So we negotiated that back. And so it was a bit of a battle. And again, the only reason I share that is what I'd like you to consider on this report. And this is true anytime we look at claim types, we look at injury types. So on this report, you're going to notice a lot of strains and strains. You're going to notice a lot of slips and falls. We can actually break that down for you by department, so you know which department has your highest frequency of claims. The real factor there is, can we look at and identify trends within your department? Whereby maybe optically you look at that, you know, that claim type is frequent and it's more frequent in that given department. And can we partner with you to come in by department and do some training modules, some different things to talk about safety? We've done that in the past, it's been a while. Obviously, we don't want to intrude upon your daily operations as it relates to your department. But I would tell you, if there's a claim type in here, I mean, you look at a couple of them, get one claim in particular, that's going to be a $40,000 claim to the county. What does that mean? If you look at the last 12 months, you look at $89,000 incurred claims, here's what that means. Next year, at this time, the county will realize a cost increase in workers' comp strictly based on what's occurred in the last 12 months.
So what we should focus on your behalf is how do we look at the next 12 months and reduce frequency and severity of conflict? There's a lot of strategies to do that. That's something I don't want to dive into too deep tonight, other than to say, in an off schedule meeting, I'd be glad to sit down with you and talk about those strategies. Because what we don't want to do is create more cost for taxpayers. The costs keep going up, but it is a direct result of that. And that, someone there, you go, wow, that's a big time trend. You know, we could put deeper optics on that. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I appreciate the suggestions you made on how we can protect ourselves a little better and bring those costs down.
But the good news is, you're in those flat.
Yeah, we're
It's
flying.
a heck of a deal, despite the country. So I'm happy to give you a flat rental.
I have a question about the training.
Yes.
Do you have anything that lists all the different types of training that you can provide to us?
We do, so, you know, we can give you different types, so again, it could be, look at the trends, it could be related to trip, slips and falls, it could be ladder safety, it could be, everything from anything you're doing in your apartments that can create a certain claim type. We can do it.
And you come on site and do that?
Do that also.
Okay. And there's claims here that are not closed yet.
Yep.
That look like they're pretty simple ones, like the first one on here, pulling weeds and got into some poison ivy. They're not closed, and that was from August. How soon can we see those closed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically, when you see that kind of remaining outstanding balance, it means it's very, very close to closure. But that's a great question. You're right. We do have several open claims here. And that's something that obviously we can continue to drill down on the adjusters. And so when we talk about driving that down, Mike, we can actually have the adjuster as well as a loss control representative maybe come into the county. And we talk about strategies to get them closed.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's a great question.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump.
No,
in.
I'm glad you're asking questions.
Just the old me.
That's a very astute question though, because as you know, open claims can impact you. And so anytime, you know, the quicker we can get those closed, the better.
I used to deal with this all for 34 years, so I know a little bit, just a little bit about it, but
But I do recommend we look at some training models down the road.
Yes.
Particularly on certain claim types, because this will impact you next year.
we definitely need
We
that.
need to, yeah.
So maybe I schedule a follow-up in a couple of weeks, and who should I reach out to?
That'd be great. Reach out to one of, maybe all three of us could get together, or maybe, you know, if you want to do it during the day, maybe Mary or Kenny would meet with you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna volunteer anybody, but.
I think you just pointed to me.
We'll put these in the, we'll put them underneath. I'm gonna
You
sit
can talk
on,
to Kenny or Mary.
sitting on the hands right now.
Yeah, Mike, you up there?
I'd be glad to meet with you in the evening, or one of these fine commissioners will meet with you too. I mean,
You guys want to do?
Any problem?
But you know, the biggest factor is keeping your employees safe, right? That's what we want to do more than anything. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Do a follow-up call, please.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions for me? I don't know if you need this.
you're saving us money. Just keep doing it.
We'll keep working.
Well, Jason, we do need to action on this, don't we? I would think so.
Yeah, we need,
Yeah, it's the renewal.
Yes, I had to unmute myself. Sorry. Yes, you need to act on it.
I make a motion to accept the renewal.
I second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 We'll, we could have the Travis tomorrow. We got to count that.
Safe travels. All right, safe travels.
thank you.
Marking her off. Quote for repairs to cover bridges.
Hello, everyone. I sent you guys some quotes by email, so you can review them. The big one is stabilizing the Red River Bridge. We've had insect damage out there. And we've had some of the rivers actually collapse, completely rotten. The biggest thing I'm gonna do as soon as possible is jack that side up and stabilize it. We would do it in a way that would help us for the permanent repairs. So we can jack up, stabilize out far enough, and we could actually replace those members when we get that figured out. I didn't want to wait, it's gonna take us a little time because of it being a very old bridge. I don't want to destroy the historic side of it or go back with timber numbers, put it back as it was. So I think you put for $4,900 to jack up and stabilize the bridge. Then I would like to see the permanent repair in the next 6 months. But we would stabilize it, to do everything we can to keep it from damaging even more.
Right.
To be bad, that whole red covered bridge came down. So, the other quotes I sent you were quotes on, insect termite. There's termites, carpenter ants, wood bees. There'd be a treatment for all of those from the entire covered bridge. 1,600 for the red covered bridge, and 1,900 for the wheeling covered bridge, and then up to second wheeling covered bridge, and we have problems up there with the insects. It's a matter of how long before they get it back though. All matching 49 and the 49 there, all will stabilize red covered bridge. I believe there's $7,000 in our bridge fund. We have money to cover that right now. No idea what the permanent this is gonna cost. We'll all do figure that out.
Man, a lot.
Stabilize, they can't be out there in the next 2 or 3 weeks. You stabilize that.
And a lot of figuring where we're gonna get the money to actually do the permanent repair, because it's gonna cost a lot.
I want to say it's $4,000 a year to get that.
I think it's, actually about 3,600 a year for I mean, not per bridge, that's for both of them.
We don't get much, do we?
No.
But we do have enough to cover stabilizing the red covered bridge. We can.
And then we get our draw in August.
We just got it.
And then next August, we would have enough money to spray, but yet we don't want to spray until we do the permanent repair.
Right.
So that's covered too.
Currently, they're not fast, we do policy to keep the bridge down in the next 9 months, and it's a year. So we'd like to stabilize it, do the repairs in the next 6 months, and then we get our draw for August, treat both bridges, to try to stop.
And out of those funds, we have to pay for any miscellaneous, the electric and the camera coverage, we have to pay all that out of that same fund.
So it's gonna be tight.
Maybe we could reach out to some of our community partners or like,
We'll do it everywhere.
yeah, I suppose we are right now. We're reaching out, the commissioners would like to reach out to community partners and know that the community loves these bridges and we want to maintain them, but we could use some partners to assist us in this endeavor.
We've been very fortunate in the past to have a lot of volunteers maintain them for us. They paint them, they've done minor repairs, and we've been very lucky to have that.
On the wheeling covered bridge, on Bridge 74 Federal Aid project, I included repairs to that bridge on the Federal Aid project. They made me split the projects into two, and they denied my covered bridge project.
Now, doesn't the wheeling covered bridge have metal beams under it?
There are metal beams supporting the centers of it, yes, they were driven.
We'd like to do away with those and put.
And I believe some of the timber members inside were replaced with I-beams. No, it's like that, we don't want to get back with it all. So, my ask today is $4,900 out of the covered bridge fund to stabilize the red covered bridge. And I'll be back with more lining and we'll figure it out.
I appreciate your legwork on this. Those bridges are awesome. They are just awesome.
I just wish everybody had a little more respect for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess we need to approve.
I make a motion, we approve the expense for the stabilization of the Red Bridge.
Second that motion.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Major medical leaves, Mr. Watkins?
Have one, and all the paperwork is necessary paperwork is on file, and it was in order.
Okay, I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now, I know there's nothing else on here, but we have passed from the Drainage Board, the stormwater ordinance. The next thing we need to do, we need to establish hearing in that, and we need to move forward on it. Because just like with the Fairview, we're gonna have more housing development and that coming through, and maybe more industry or whatever, and we need to have that ordinance in place. So I would like us to get that advertised and everything, start our steps in getting this passed.
Mr. Spindler, are you still there?
Yes, unmute himself.
Yes, I am. I am here and I'm looking at my calendar. So public hearing, in order to give ample time to the paper and the 10 days prior to the meeting, we better do it on the first meeting in November, which would be the 2nd of November, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And would that be the first reading of it?
We would do the first reading. We could do the first reading at the second meeting in October. And then the public hearing and second reading that same night if the commissioners are inclined to act upon it. Second reading and passage if the commissioners are inclined to act upon it. So first reading at the next meeting in October, the second meeting in October, and then public hearing and second reading / consideration of passage at the first meeting in November.
Okay.
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 And my biggest concern about it is what I'm thinking is there are a lot of fees attached to it. And I have concerns about those fees. I would like to see us look at doing it in-house. Like we do with the subdivision review ordinance. So I'm just gonna throw that out there to think about. It would save the county and save taxpayers thousands of dollars if we did it in-house. So that's just an idea.
Well, the thing is with that, just like Scott said with, you know, what they have put out. So those subdivision, I don't know what you call them, the outline, all the specs, all the figures they have to have. You have to be an engineer to be able to do that. We don't have anybody in-house that can review those and have the time to
And
review
my
them.
concern is these folks, these good folks that are wanting to develop property, just like Mr. Longbow there, they'll go out and pay $5,000 for, you know, to have the engineering work done, right?
Right.
They pay $5,000, $7,000. And then they come to the county, and if we pass this, we're gonna hit them with another $3,000 bill.
But they're gonna know that in advance.
And so let's say you have, you know, $5,000 for your engineering fee, and that's probably cheap for a decent sized subdivision. And then you pay us $3,000, and then you and your wife pay $40,000 for the lot. So now you're into what, 45, 48, you're $50,000 and haven't even, you know, put a shovel in the dirt.
No, you're feeding that per house. That's not gonna happen per house.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the overall cost, because typically what happens in development, they, like if there's any cost occurred to the developer, they will pass that on to the resident. And so I'm just what I'm trying to do is look out for the taxpayers and still have some requirements. So anyhow, I'm just one guy mentioning an idea.
And that's fine.
Yeah. May not even be the idea that moves forward, but I just ask you to think about it, fellow commissioners. If there's a way we could help the taxpayers and citizens and developers, because, you know, we've heard it already from economic development, housing is a need in our county. And if we go throw another $3,000 fee on them, but we need to do something too. I mean, your point, Mary, is we need to do something. So I can appreciate that. I just think we need to do it in a fiscally responsible manner is all I'm suggesting.
Well, and you're right, it passes on, but just take Mr. Longaball's 42 houses. And the fee is, I think in ours, what, 2,000, 2,500 or something like that for the review. That's like $60 a house. I mean, you know, you want to save $60, but you're not asking them to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a house. And if you really look at it, if you're going to build in town and that, you have a whole lot of other fees that you're going to be paying that you're not going to have possibly out in one of those subdivisions.
Right.
So, I mean, that can be discussed later. We've had a long enough meeting the way it is.
I second.
One last. You're not good for another hour?
No, I'll do another hour.
That's it though, right? Okay. Okay, last matter I want to bring up with you, fellow commissioners, Rick Coleman of the Gibson County CEO program. This is a program that's instrumental in bringing CEO business type activities and education and entrepreneurship to our high schoolers throughout the county, all the high schools in Gibson County. He wanted, and we don't have to agree upon this tonight, but he wanted me to at least bring it to the table of the commissioners, and they have a lot of commitments from people throughout the county. But he wanted to bring it to our attention. They're asking I believe the city of Princeton's already, approved their commitment, but what they're asking for is $1,000 per year sponsorship. And this would go to running the program, helping the kids get their curriculum. And if you'd like to know more, I'm sure I can give you Rick's number. He's a great guy to talk to. He's an educator here in our county. But they have their meetings at the hub. And I really just feel like they're a good group and want to do right by our high schoolers and educate them about entrepreneurship and business. I don't know. Some of you folks may know a little more about that than I do.
I sat through a couple presentations on that, and it kind of reminds me of when, sorry guys, a couple years ago when I was young. But all the different programs that they had nationwide and that, it's just kind of a little expansion. I can't remember the one that we had in Tell City, but it was like that, type of thing. And I think it's a good thing. We just need to figure out where we're going to get the money out of and get it in our budget. But I think it's a good program, and Rick does an excellent job of explaining it.
Yeah, he's a great educator, and we appreciate what he does for the kids in the community. So do we want to table it, maybe figure out where the money's going to come from?
I think we need to figure out where the money's going to come from. I don't want to commit $1,000 and you think, well, it's $1,000, but
It's for 3 years.
it's pretty tight money right now.
Right, okay.
But if you don't have anything else, just a quick, we got to cross our thing. Jim Allen, who was a paramedic for Gibson County for 30 years. He was our supervisor for 6, did a great job. He has taken a job with the Deaconess Health System, and we just want to wish him well and thank him for all the service that he has given Gibson County for the past 30 years. Thank you.
Well said, well said. Anything else from the community? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Are you sure? Are you sure? I'll second that motion.
All right.
I